Hey there, Rooster Teeth fans. Welcome to another episode of the RWBY After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. Tonight we are talking about Volume 5, Chapter 11, The More the Merrier. We got a great show for you tonight. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Last week when we were making predictions, Mark, you let out something of a concerned moan.
So did
And
John.
now I feel like I understand.
The way that Malachroma put it in chat, and we're going to talk about it in a moment, is awful. And they should be ashamed of themselves.
No, I'm going to bring this up now because we're all going to talk about this at the top, let's be real. She called it the Schnee Kebab.
How dare? How
See,
dare?
That's what I said.
Pick, but I like that.
How dare! Well, on that note, hi Rooster Teeth fans! We're here to talk about RWBY tonight on AfterBuzz TV. Let's not waste any time. Let me introduce my fantastic panel. To my left, Mark Donica.
I'm hashtag the cutie, Mark B. Donica. That's not. I'm sorry.
No, hashtag best girl, remember?
No, Tuxedo Mark.
Yes!
You can find me on Twitter at Mark B. Donica. Thanks again to, I forgot the Twitter handle.
Jester's Chessboard.
Jester's Chessboard for all of that fan art that we showed off last week. If you missed it, watch last week's show. That's me, Mark B. Donica.
Please do. And to his left, another magical girl, Katie Cullen.
Hi, all my buddies. I'm hashtag the Tsundere one. You can find me all over the social medias at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. I'm back.
And I'm Megan Salinas, I guess.
Hashtag the leader.
Hashtag the edgelord. I'll go with. Can I be an edgelord? I want to be an.
No,
edgelord.
you have to be on the.
Tsundere.
You have to be on the episode.
Very good. It's not like I care.
That's Tsundere. That's me.
Dibs. Whatever, I'm the edgelord. Okay, and you guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to also follow our other cohorts, Stacey Shuttleworth at Stacey Shuttles, and Patrick at P to the Dees on Twitter. And yeah, guys, I know you mentioned wanting to talk about it from the top, but I actually want to talk about this episode a little bit more.
But before we do, we have a disclaimer. Every disclaimer that we say every episode.
Yep.
Yes, every episode, and especially for this upcoming one, guys, it's a part of the Rooster Teeth guidelines, community guidelines, to, if we're doing stuff like this, if you're doing reaction videos, you wait until the episode is on public release. So we are asking those of you who are sponsors and who have seen the next episode to please be kind and courteous to the people in the live chat and the people in our comments section. Please no spoilers for Chapter 12.
And the hashtag as well.
Yes.
Which is a RWBY
Yep.
Think about how being in chat, how difficult it is not to talk about things. Think about people on the table and how difficult it is not to talk about things.
Yes.
For whatever it's worth, I actually did get spoiled for this episode deliberately by someone in my own channel's comment section. So, don't be that human.
Long story
be
short,
considerate to other people.
Long story short, don't be that guy. Luckily, I think it's safe to say that all three of us have seen the next episode.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
But that being said, watch as we don't talk about it because we're here talking about Chapter 11. So I do want to talk about basically the initial setup for this episode, because I went into this episode thinking, Ozpin and Crow, they've got this. They are clearly far less responsible than I thought they were.
Well, we have the responsible adult who's sharing headspace with a kid, and then we have the irresponsible maybe adult.
If we're already to that plan, we know how, and you've heard my theories about Ozpin choosing Pyrrha as a sacrifice so that he could have access to RWBY's power in so many words. I don't think that it's below him to know that there were some sacrifices, or we don't know the immediate scene as they were all walking in formation into this room.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
With the events that have happened in this episode, we don't know how much they've discussed. We don't know, hey, we're walking in there probably into a trap. A lot of you might get messed up pretty bad. We have some information that we don't have, or that they don't have. let's try to work with it and get as far as we can.
I don't think
We don't
anyone
know.
thought it was going to be quite that level of betrayal. I just don't. That is one of those reactions that says to me. And Mark is propelling himself backwards with his arms. And
I'm a paddle.
Flapping
Again,
wildly.
he makes a very convincing argument.
This is a convincing argument. Oh, the Miles argument.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think we would have gotten that reaction out of the ostensible adults had they thought it went to this level. And freaking Raven
Really?
is not subtle.
Are you kidding? Oh, Leo, how could, like, they wouldn't have brought, like, from a writer's perspective, you don't bring up the tease of, he's not acting right. And even Leo's line of, why did you bring weapons? Which is
That made me really happy. Like, we sleep with these things.
Leo
You really think that we wouldn't.
Leo plays Uno with the cards with the face out instead of towards him. But it's
He does have a dual disc.
if there's any all of his cards are face up in attack mode. But if there's no reason why they shouldn't be playing along, especially with stakes as high as they are. We still don't know. There's 2 episodes left.
That's true.
It's like people complaining about The Last Jedi when there's still a movie left
there's still one
to
more
settle
movie.
all the rest of the story arc. And even then, these next 2 episodes may not settle everything. They
I'm
probably won't.
I am
No.
hoping that is the case, because I went into this episode thinking that Ozpin and Crow had adequately prepared for an ambush, given, again, they're not stupid. And they knew for a fact that Leo was acting strange going into this, as we see, definite trap. So I'm sitting here going, like, I hope that within the next couple episodes, we get a flashback of some sort, or we have some sort of, not Deus Ex Machina, because that's a completely different writing mechanic, but have somebody come in and be like, it's a good thing we called you because we knew we were walking into a trap.
Remember that thing that we set up and then it flashes back to them having that conversation and we
Of
get
like,
to see it.
Hey kids,
Boy, am I glad
this
we
is
set that
most
up.
definitely a trap.
Well, this goes and we talked about it a little bit to the very last scene of the episode. I thought that it was entirely possible that could have been a Blake mirage.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've been told many times throughout the Menagerie storyline, or at least through the wrapping up of the Menagerie storyline, that they were trying to, we know when the attack's going to happen, so we've got a jam there. We don't know if the armies of Faunus from Menagerie are lying in wait for...
Like, if they've been
that's
there for
the relic,
a day or two.
now we attack. Like, we don't know that. But that's I suspect that...
They don't know anything about the relic. Their
But what
plan is they know the White Fang is going to blow things up. We're stopping the White Fang.
What I'm saying is we don't know if Team RWBY, we don't know if the kids and Crow and Ozpin and all of them were like, oh, look at all those boats from Menagerie. And we don't know if, like, the flashback that Megan was just mentioning was, instead of with somebody, was with Blake,
with Blake.
and Gira and those armies, so that there was a plan. And they can't show that hand until, oh, hey, these 3 people are going to walk away, and when they come back, that's when we attack. We don't know that.
I honestly, in terms of the Menagerie crew showing up, I'm expecting a full-on look to the east, Gandalf the White, Riders of Rohan moment.
I'm not sure how all this is going to pan out. I would very much love that moment. But at the same time, I also need to be vindicated in that Ozpin's not just needlessly throwing these kids into dangerous situations without adequately explaining the danger.
Well, they
Exactly.
brought Oscar.
And they
They brought Oscar.
that was when I saw him in the lineup, I was like, how many episodes ago was it when we were talking about, well, we don't want them to know that Ozpin is reincarnated yet, so let's bring him.
We don't want them to know, and also, small child, you are not combat ready. But here we go. What do? Fight. Oh my God.
And he's an idiot.
This is why you've been fighting Salem for thousands of years, or however long it's been.
That's the other kind of flip side of, like, because I'm sitting here going, Ozpin, you're so irresponsible. How could you do this? this guy has lived a very long life. So to him, just, playing out this scenario could just be, step whatever in the, let's just see how things pan out. Things, crazy stuff happens. We've got a warrior with silver eyes here. Let's just see what happens. That could very well be his mentality on it because he's so freaking old.
I am on step Q sub 5
That came
of
out,
my plan.
that came out really not as nice as I wanted it to.
He's
he's
so old.
ancient.
He's so old.
Ancient.
So old, you guys. Old people have dumb plans. Don't you know?
Toads. And flower scouts.
So, yeah, that came out a little bit more bluntly than I meant it to.
Amazingly.
Malachroma says, my favorite part of the episode was when a trained headmaster of a combat academy was beaten up by a 14-year-old with a fortnight of combat training.
He was using that wop stick like roll hard.
Well, the other thing is you look at Leo's weapon, it's like, this is not a man who should be in the front lines because that is not a quick action weapon. That is a 3-step process. So that's the guy that you put in the back with the artillery.
As you pointed out, though, it is a nifty dual disc.
We got 3 anime references. We got dual disc, we got Beyblade, and we got, it kind of looks like a transmutation circle.
A little
Well,
bit.
I made a Yu-Gi-Oh crack in the reaction video, and not 2 seconds after I did that, that weapon came out for the first time, and we had so many dual disc comments, and I didn't even think of it until all the commenters brought it up. I
It's
love
time
you
to
guys.
die.
He played Burning Meteor. It's a magic card that takes 500 points off your life points. It's pretty good. It's pretty solid. It's a rare card.
A good thing Oscar
Someone's
had
going to the
his
Shadow Realm.
monster in defense mode because it didn't affect him. His life points are fine.
Yeah, Oscar's got a flip effect. He just hasn't activated it yet.
Oh,
I'm not going too deep.
Oscar's like the Celtic Guardian. I mean, he's good in some situations, but when the heavy guns come out, you sacrifice him for
I know
something
how we
else.
fix this, guys. At the end of the episode, we just need somebody to play Monster Reborn. Boom. It's fine. Everything's fixed.
I thought. Never mind.
This is what happened. So different game entirely. This is
Damn
what
it! I was
happens.
wrong. Somebody actually me in chat.
Meteor of Destruction does 1,000. Thank you,
Yeah.
Joel.
I'll thank him for that.
Slightly different game, but this is what happens when your team is 90% DPS and the other 10% is a single tank. Like, you have no supports on this team.
I'm gonna
This is your
pretend
problem.
Like I know what that means.
I think she's talking about Overwatch.
Overwatch.
I think you're right. We need a mercy. We need a mercy, please.
Why isn't anyone healing?
Really quick shout outs on Twitter. I want to give a shout out to Jade, aka Drummer Girl 456, who is a longtime fan of ours, who's finally getting to watch an episode live this season.
Oh, hi, Jade.
It's good to see you, Jade.
It's always good to see you, Jade.
And to Caitlin's credit, as she points out on Twitter, wait, Megan, when did you ever think Crow was responsible? That is an excellent point.
Yeah. No.
I mean, he's at least observant enough to notice Raven after Yang points her out. So that's good. It is talking about Leo, though, it is really unsettling, again, just how long he has been in Salem's pocket and how, I guess, the ramifications of him being a spy for her, because all of those huntsmen, and we'd long suspected, like, oh, this isn't good, but all of those huntsmen who are in fact dead are dead as a result of him leaking information.
And I love the throwaway line about Tyrion and Watts would have found them eventually. Like, oh, these are huntsman killers. We've seen Tyrion in battle. What can Watts do?
Some weird stuff with like the weird
shows up on a
point.
mech.
What were you gonna say? I was thinking, speaking of Watts, he is noticeably absent from this whole thing. We know he wasn't like on board with it, but he's also very much not here.
I feel like he's one of those people who just kind of watches everything happening on a screen and eats popcorn until things start going terribly, and then he goes, oh, fine, I'll get involved.
Was it Hazel or Watts?
Hazel's there.
No, like Hazel and Tyrion Tyrion would have
Oh,
gotten
it
to
was
them
Hazel
eventually.
and Tyrion.
Yeah.
You're right. I misspoke.
But good point bringing up that he's mysteriously absent.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like he thinks like, ugh, this is gonna go terribly, and I don't want to take any blame for it.
Going back to the Yu-Gi-Oh trope, I think we've got a trap card and then a cancellation trap card.
Oh!
Where I think the tides are gonna start to turn, and they go, "Psych, Watts is here," and they go, "Psych, a flippin' army is here," or the other way around, where the army's gonna show up and Watts is gonna be like pitiful, and then kill everyone.
I mean, we know for a fact there is an army running around. The White Fang are getting ready to. They're getting ready. They're readying their attack with this one quick shot that we get to Adam.
Where they're setting explosives everywhere. Like, okay.
Every time he opens his mouth, I just want someone to punch him in the face. He's so terrible. He's garbage. Ugh.
That's like, oh, I didn't miss you.
It will be interesting. I don't know how all of this is going to resolve itself, or if any of this is going to resolve itself.
You look really pained.
I mean, we got 3 more episodes, so we'll have to see.
I just hate him so much.
Yeah, I get the feeling he's going to be one of those people that lasts forever because the cockroaches always are. At least he's an intriguing villain and not 1,000% a garbage fire like, say, your Joffreys of the world.
I don't know. He's very borderline Joffrey.
Well,
at least in my opinion.
He's awful, but he has personality beyond awful.
We should probably start making other anime references because Caitlin also points out not all of us grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Define growing up. That came out when I was in high school.
I want to talk a little bit about Raven's monologue because what's this, what's a good villain without a little bit of time to monologue? And
a smart one.
A little bit,
You bring up an excellent point, which, again, Raven might not be a villain. It's really hard to say not, though.
It doesn't make her any less of a terrible person, though.
Yeah. Part of me still holds on to this idea that maybe she's still complex and that maybe she's doing this in part so that at least her brother and her daughter have a fighting chance as opposed to getting ambushed. I don't think so. But
That's why I'm going to sit on this balcony and watch and hope that someone notices me. Because you're right, otherwise that's real stupid. That was not a smart move on her part.
I'm hoping that that's it, but she's giving very little evidence to the contrary. I just personally, I'm like, I want you to be better than you are.
Do better!
But there was one bit from her speech that I really thought was great, and that's when RWBY speaks up. And we get this beautiful little Red Like Roses musical motif that plays at the very end of RWBY's speech. And then there's just this beat of silence. And Raven goes, "You sound just like your mother." Boom. That's when the fighting starts. I have to ask, and let's start with you, Mark. If we're, and maybe this is better for predictions, but if we're speculating right now, what do we think Raven's relationship was with Summer? Is it possible that they were at all friends at any given point, or do you think they just hated each other?
I think both are possible. I think they might, with the way that Raven has turned out, I think they might go with the way of everybody was friends, and then Ty wasn't a great person.
Oh.
Equals RWBY. And
you think he was a bit of a dog?
I think if any, not any, but if there is a case where you have two sisters that love each other, one of the mothers ends up bitter, one of them ends up dead, there's probably something tricky, something weird, especially with all of the accusations towards Oz this season. I think there's a possibility the way that I think it. There's a lot of options, but I think the way that makes the most sense to me is there was definitely, the easiest way to put it, there was definitely a rivalry there.
That's true. They could have been.
And it's Ty's fault all the time. It's always Ty's fault.
It's always Ty's fault. Katie, what about you? Do you think they were friends at one point or mortal enemies?
I'm sure they were friends at some point, but honestly, I think the rift happened when Raven decided to go back to her people for whatever reason. Like, I don't think it was something that Ty did. I think it was either directly something Oz did or an unintended consequence.
That's fair. Again, these are
We
all
know
fair
nothing!
theories. These are all fair theories.
But speaking of knowing nothing, Rooster Teeth, our checks bounced. What the hell? Just send us a new one. Just send us a new one. Sorry, you shouldn't have aired that on. I should have aired that live. I'm sorry.
You're getting paid?
Oh, I don't want to. Oh, no, that made it worse. Especially after the flippin' Mark Wahlberg news that came out, that made it so much worse.
Oh, what?
I missed
Nothing.
that. We'll talk later.
I missed that news as well.
Anyway.
Neither here
It was
nor
a
there.
joke. Please don't. No, it was a joke.
It was a joke. We do funny things.
Anyway.
Let jokes live. Day by day.
Anyway, that's when the fighting starts. And speaking of villains who like to who love the sound of their own voice, we get to see Cinder in the same room as everybody else again for the first time.
Didn't miss her either.
You have to give definitely, I think,
Jessica Nigiri?
Nigri.
she's
Thank
great.
you.
She's great, but actually, I was going to talk in terms of vocal performances. I was actually going to point out Miles' performance as Jean in this episode because it's not. Jean has been very quiet the last few seasons. Seasons 4 and most of this season, he's been very subdued and very resigned. And we got this extremely emotional performance from him because, he was there when they were trying to make Pyrrha the Fall Maiden, and Cinder's the one who murdered her, and she doesn't even remember him.
Either she doesn't remember or she's just straight up messing with him there. What can I do that will cause the most damage? This.
Also, it was really dark in that hallway, and it was a really long hallway, so she probably just didn't see him.
That's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when she does remember, she's like, oh yeah, I remember you now. You're that idiot.
You're the dumb one.
Oh, man. That was that was the moment in the episode where I'm like, oh, that is the sickest of burns right there.
I think we both just kind of went, oh.
I don't.
But for me, it was Tuesday.
Yeah, it was a very
That's
M.
straight
Bison
up what that
moment.
was.
Ugh. Okay, so that's when the fighting starts and everybody pairs off. Anybody hoping that Yang actually does break Mercury's legs this time?
Yes.
He can't. Well, she can't just break them.
They're metal.
Yeah, just to rip them off of his
I
legs.
was going to say, given that they are prosthetics, she should break them off.
Oh, the easiest thing to do is get really mad, and she's got the shotgun thing, like the shotgun things.
Yeah.
Punch him in the upper thigh through the bone.
Oh,
so that he has no legs.
Oh, there. We fixed it. We fixed it.
It's a simple idea.
We broke it and made it better.
Yeah, break his legs.
Off.
Anyway,
Break them off.
break off.
Well,
Break off.
but don't
Break
tish.
off.
I do worry about Ruby's match because she's matched off with Emerald, and I know that everybody's semblance has its limits, and in terms of energy and how much how long she's able to keep up the illusion. But in my mind, I'm like, you can't beat Emerald because, like, if you don't know what you're punching at, you can't beat her on your own or without the ability to break it.
Honestly, Emerald is one of the most dangerous people in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Just full stop.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a good chunk of that in this episode.
Yeah. She can make you attack your friends and rip robots apart, and that's not a good thing.
Nothing is okay. Everything hurts.
Now I'm not remembering it very well, but we haven't had a ton of development with Cinder and Emerald, if I'm correct, right? I know we had one flashback scene of the two of them, but we really haven't dug into it a ton. And Emerald doubles down here and she says, I don't care about Salem. I don't care about any of this, but I do care about Cinder. Now, I wonder about how exactly loyal she's going to be moving forward. Like, if she decides that, oh, wait, no, Cinder's just a pawn in Salem's grand scheme. Because I care about Cinder, I need to get her out of this.
Well,
Is that a possibility?
I think so, because last season we saw her like standing at Cinder's right hand at the table, and just the look on her face at some of the things that were happening. We're like, yeah, I signed up to bring down a kingdom, and I signed up for a few things, but I don't think I signed up for the apocalypse, and I didn't sign up for Squid Grim. This is weird.
So you think one day she's going to have the realization that she's going to be canceling the apocalypse?
Hopefully within a giant robot.
Hopefully. But I think
That Watts makes?
despite what's with Watts and robots?
I don't know.
Robots. But despite that scene, I would agree with you until this scene where she said, I don't care about any of this. I just care about Cinder. I think it'll be too late. I know we've talked about it before. I still think that if there's one to turn on that team, it would be Emerald. I was kind of hoping that her ability would be more of a, to go to another anime, Aizen from Bleach. Once you found out that it was an illusion, the illusion was broken and you could see right through it. So I wonder how they're going to make Mercury show her hand of, oh, this is how you get past that. But I don't think it's going to be this season.
Yeah, there's gotta be a workaround outside of somebody else hitting her.
That's pretty effective though.
Yeah.
You just go in pairs.
I mean, but yeah, if she can affect, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say where her Achilles heel is. For me, and again, I look at the relationship between her and Cinder, and we know that Salem uses people as means to an end. And I feel like Cinder's also kind of in that same mentality when it comes to her underlings. She just hasn't had as many of them to dispose of. So I'm thinking that somewhere down the line, Emerald is, if she's not, if she doesn't turn just of her own volition, one day like tries to get Cinder to like, hey, we gotta cut our losses and just go. I can actually see a scenario where Cinder kills Emerald because it's like, oh, I don't need you anymore. Or like, hey, this is what I want.
Cinder's like, let's go deeper into the world of anime.
Yes!
So,
We have to go deeper.
Yeah, so this is the people may not think it's an anime, but it's an anime. I consider the relationship of Cinder and same. I consider the relationship of Cinder and Salem like Dwight Schrute and Michael Scott, where she is not the assistant regional manager, she's the assistant to the regional manager, but she thinks that she has this higher power, this higher calling, but Michael has a completely different, Salem has a completely different idea of their relationship. Office, best anime. Fight me. Don't at me. At Mark B. Donica. Also, thank you for the GIF, Princess Ponies. I will use that forever.
It is beautiful,
Yeah.
and it is amazing. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Terrence Noren. Office is best anime.
Oh, and the full-on Trigun reference in the chat as well. If we get someone with a Legato-style semblance, I'm out.
Special shout out to Ace Trainer 44 on Twitter as well. I'm definitely not screaming on the inside because of this episode. And it's just a gif of screaming internally.
Sounds better.
I agree. Talking about Salem's underlings, we get a little bit of Hazel. The last time we saw him in a potentially volatile scene, he walked away from it going, nobody had to die today. And even the start of this one is, I don't want to hurt you kids. And that they're like, sorry, man.
Too bad.
Well,
This is 2 against 1 now.
The start of this one is also no way in, no way out.
Yeah. So
We'll see how that holds
I don't
up.
think they can resolve their differences over a cup of tea.
But I will also say, I did not, just because, how often do, we're back to The Office, I mean anime, how often do, like, exact things that happen in an intro happen in a show, to the point where I had
Yes!
no, that's not 2-on-1 with Hazel. That's weird. That seems shoehorned, and it makes complete sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the RWBY intro from last season, there were a couple matches that definitely didn't happen.
I was going to say, in RWBY, a lot of the time what happens in the theme doesn't happen, at least not beat for beat in the show. We get some nice symbolic stuff that usually plays out in one way or another, but not like that.
Not like these.
Which is great, because one of the complaints I have about certain anime series that I watch is that, hey, there are spoilers in the intro. Don't do that, guys.
SAO3.
Little bit. So yeah, I really appreciated when everybody was pairing off. It's like, oh, it's like the opening, guys. We're actually gonna get those matches.
Time to dance.
What I'm concerned about with Hazel is that we haven't seen what he can do just yet, and he's walking confidently into a 2-on-1 match without so much as, like, I don't know. It's concerning, is all I'm saying.
Yep.
I mean, admittedly, he is a big dude, and they are not very big teenagers. So.
And
It's like if Velma and Shaggy got caught up with the monster before he got unmasked yet.
Kind of. But I've always kind of trusted Velma to be able to.
Speaking of things that don't happen in intros, Brody Kimberlin says no one went skydiving in Volume 3.
that's also true. That is very true.
And you get a free first membership for life.
Metaphors.
It's a metaphor.
And we also get Weiss and Vernal. Even though this matchup doesn't really pan out in the way that we think it does, I thought it was very interesting that Raven was like, be sure to not use your powers that are sure to make this a short and sweet fight. Don't do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't
Please
do
don't
it at
do
all.
Don't waste them like you have a finite amount.
I think this ties into exactly what you were saying, Katie, a little earlier, in that, like, Raven, we know from the scene, way back when, if you take the Wayback Machine, that she wants this scene to be complete and utter chaos.
Yeah.
That means the more, not, for lack of a better way
The
of putting
crazier it is.
Yeah, the more fighting that's going on, the bigger of a distraction it'll be. So having this, sort of match off, it's exactly what she wants. She wants it to be chaotic so that when they get their chance, they can sneak away and steal the relic. Now,
So we have two maidens in this fight, and neither of them are really using their powers. I mean, Cinder is, but it's just like low-level weapon summon
I wonder
spells.
if that wouldn't
just to
bring
be
the
a jerk.
building down, though.
Yeah, I mean, that is the point, but not while they're in it.
Well, so we found out about the White Fang setting up explosives all around. As far as we know, as far as they know, that force in the room is the only thing between stopping them and getting the relic and stopping the White Fang. So if they're all distracted and or dead, then the White Fang can do whatever they want. They have the run of the land.
Yeah.
So keeping that as chaotic as possible, there are people keeping minds off of that stuff. Settled.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah.
It's also just a fun, like, standoff thing because obviously Vernal and Weiss were butting heads earlier in the season because Vernal presumably comes from nothing and Weiss is the daughter of privilege, but also walked away with nothing at the end of last season. So it's an interesting sort of standoff there too.
I'm very sad that the summons got interrupted. I really wanted that to go down.
Exactly. That's something that, like, I was like, ooh, it's happening, and this could really this could turn the tide. Like, you have a giant summon like that. I feel like it could do a lot of damage to a lot of the people in this room, and it got cut off, so to speak. Yeah, so that was a bummer.
Summoning takes time when you're still new to it, evidently.
The only bummer of the episode.
Yeah.
The only bummer of the episode, and nothing else happened.
That's not the only thing that got cut off. That doesn't
Okay, let's just
liver.
Let's just go ahead and talk about it because that.
Yes, it's called a liver because you need it to live.
Yeah.
Right through it.
So yeah, in the middle of Cinder and Jean's fight, he does something stupid and points out how important his friends are to him. And that's when she's like, oh, okay, guy who almost, cut my face off.
Well, that's after Ruby has her moment of, oh, I can't do this again. I cannot have another friend die. And for half a second, Jean has the upper hand. Like, just a little bit more to the left, and we might have had a success story here.
But also, my favorite thing about that is Ruby starting to go Super Saiyan and Emerald just going, no!
Bad!
No!
They're
Don't
learning.
do that.
They're learning.
It's like pulling out the spray bottle when your cat's on the counter. Nope, nope, get down from there.
Well, an interesting little thing is when Cinder goes down, she immediately grabs her arm. And which is still covered up by, this long
Beautiful sleeve.
Yes.
It's the arm that got hosed the first time Ruby went Super Saiyan.
Yep.
Super Saiyan Silver?
That's not a thing yet, but it's getting there.
We're running out of
here.
colors.
Yeah, but Toriyama himself said we're running out of colors.
Yeah.
He straight up said Super Saiyan Rosé. That's a wine.
There's gold, rosé,
Well, because
blue.
Super Saiyan God was red, and then Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan was blue because they ran out of characters, and then they had to go higher than that, which turned out to be rosé. So
Why
again,
can't you just call it pink? Or lightish
I just
red?
thought it was
I
rose.
Don't care.
I just thought it was
Yeah.
rose.
But they've been pronouncing it rosé, and that is a wine.
Y'all Japanese with your pronunciations.
Super Saiyan wine.
The next level will be rose gold, strawberry
The next
level
blonde.
will be
That
Zinfandel.
makes sense. Like no joke. Like because of the gold and the original blonde of the original Saiyan,
this is
and
true.
then Super Saiyan 3
And
was
this is
gold.
all before Super Saiyan 4, assuming that
I think
GT's
we're at
canon still.
including Scooby Doo. I think we're at 8 anime, other than RWBY that we've been talking about this
Scooby-Doo,
episode.
the best anime.
Yeah.
It's too late to start a drinking game, isn't it?
But yeah, of
Didn't we
course,
have one?
saying,
we have
like I said, Jean mentioning his friends, rookie mistake, Jean. And of course, that's when Cinder takes this pot shot at Weiss and skewers her in the back.
With what may or may not be a replica of Pyrrha's spear.
That,
Oh, I don't think that far.
don't know.
I think that was just I need a tossing weapon.
Yeah.
well,
Chance Lance.
regardless, the framing of where Weiss was, and it was very intentional. They, in terms of how she fell on her knees, and everything about it was meant to mirror Pyrrha's demise. And even to the point where the spear itself crumbled away into dust. I was sort of half expecting Weiss to start doing the same. And I'm really glad that that's not where the episode ended.
You liked where it ended flippin' Sopranos style, like right before you wanted some sort of a.
No. Here's the thing. No body, no death.
No, I know, but
we
still.
didn't show her
But still nobody-
scattering into ashes or doing the Kingdom Hearts fade into light or even breathing her last. We just had like, oh, it's one of those Rooster Teeth cliffhangers. Last time I had one of those, my favorite character took one to the throat.
Someone has a Phoenix down, right? Like, we can fix this. Someone has a Phoenix down. or
but
a super potion.
I mean, in
Where's
terms,
the Mercy Mane?
in terms of somebody going to catching her, Blake showing up, like there are a lot of things that they intentionally left to the audience's imagination. But for me, it wasn't is she dead? It's I went, how is she still alive?
Please clap in chat says on Ruby Rewind they said it also intentionally
I laughed
mirrored
at that
Amber
earlier.
getting shot in the back.
So happy that you get that. I'm so happy that you get that.
I'm sorry, Katie, could you repeat the comment again?
What did I miss?
You read the name again.
Please clap.
It's very
Please.
funny.
All right. Oh.
Please clap.
Anyway.
No more
please
jibbing
reread
around.
the
What was the comment?
I did not hear it.
Thank you.
On Ruby Rewind, they said it was also intentionally mirrored Amber getting shot in the back.
Oh yeah, the breathing. Yeah.
Oh, man, that is rough.
And Miraculous Corazon says, no body, no death. Explain the pilot. He wasn't important. NPCs don't count.
Did he have it? That's how we fix this. He flies in and he's like, hey, kid, I know I'm late, but I'm here.
It's just the plane finally. I'm only good at crashing it, so I'm just gonna crash it right into the building. Brody Kimberlin in chat. And my eyes gone, so my aim's way off.
I mean, that's true. She could have been aiming for her spine or for her heart and just missed because she has no depth perception now. Oh, man. I'd feel so sorry for her if she wasn't evil and terrible. Okay, so I feel like with Weiss, this because of what happened to Pyrrha, and because we haven't had our team reunion yet, I don't think Weiss is dead. I feel like this is less of a OMG, she's dead now, and more of a how do we fix this? In the same way that spoilers for Red vs. Blue. That Wash didn't die.
It's been almost a year. It's been almost a year.
That Wash didn't die when he ended up getting shot in the throat. Sorry for anybody who I ruined that for just now in that moment. My apologies.
At least we haven't introduced a murder fridge into RWBY. There's only so much I can handle.
Give it time.
Yeah.
Again, what's Watts doing right now?
Brody in chat says, get her to a space hospital.
Very good. Weiss needs a back to tank. Clever girl. That would have made it so much more gross. Anyway, shoot, what were we talking about? I'm a pilot.
Yes.
I totally forgot what we were talking about, and I had a comment, and I forgot it.
How do we fix this?
How do we fix this? Nope, nothing.
We don't. Sometimes things are born.
Never die.
Sometimes things are born, they live, and then they stop forever. End of story.
I remember now.
Oh, go ahead.
Fridge. Or like something about a fridge. Weiss
Murder
is technically a walking fridge. She is the murder fridge.
Just put her on cold ice.
Give her a minute. She'll be a murder fridge.
Oh Lord.
If it's an ice cold night, that's a murder fridge.
Princess Ponies in chat says, I still like the theory that Crow was influencing the fight with his bad luck.
Oh.
I haven't heard that, and that's great.
That's a
I
good
enjoy
theory.
that. That's terrifying. I love it.
I mean, that's an interesting way to actually get him out. Like, say, we get to the end of this season when the dust settles, him going, sorry, kids, I need to leave you to your own devices because clearly I'm bad luck.
No, I think it's gonna be more. My work here is done.
But you didn't do anything.
Did I?
Whoosh.
Didn't I?
And then he phases away.
Just full tuxedo mask. Turns into a bird and goes.
So the only other thing I think we should touch on is that at one point in this confrontation, Leo does recognize that Oscar is he is in the reincarnation of Ozpin. And
the thing they didn't want to happen.
And
Maybe if I turn you in, I'll be free of this. Maybe you're an idiot.
No, maybe.
No, maybe.
No, maybe.
It does make me wonder if there isn't a little bit more to his betrayal than just cowardice, as he puts it, and a sensible choice, as Raven puts it.
There was this episode where Cinder talks about how they got into the tournament, right?
Yes.
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Hey, I killed your students, your town, your school, your life. I am essentially Leo is responsible
And
for
communications.
Ozpin dying, at the very least. Let alone that and Beacon and all of that
Crumbling
dying.
to the ground.
Yeah.
Killing
the
the
students who were
communication
there.
network.
No, I would say less important than people.
But it's left
communications win you a war.
It's left the infrastructure of the world at large in shambles. So, yes, the people are more important, but that is also a devastating factor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like finding out that, like, the stock market crashes. Yeah, like, you physically aren't hurt, but that hurts the country, that sort of thing.
Mecha Soundwave, I think, puts it best. Leo is responsible for everything bad in Volume 3. Everything bad.
Everything bad.
Actually, technically, that also means he's responsible for us seeing Ironwood's smoking hot bud.
Oh. You know what? Every cloud.
Every Silver, because he's a
I was
robot.
going to say silver fox lining.
Silver fox lining. What were we talking about? But yeah, talking again, bringing everything back full circle to how terrible Ozpin is. He does not help Oscar in this regard. Oscar straight up goes, "What do we do?" And he's like, "You figure it out. I'm good."
I wonder if there isn't a time limit on how long he can be puppeting Oscar's body. Like how long he
That's
can
fair.
do the Yu-Gi-Oh thing. Because yeah, if it's not a dire situation, this means that Oz has assessed the situation and gone, "Oh yeah, you can totally beat this guy in a fight. Fight him."
Yeah, and
Doesn't say much for Leo.
I mean, we know about him withholding information. He's definitely using that to his advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
He know, and that's another thing that goes to the thing, to my idea, or several thoughts that they know more than they're letting on, is that he knows how, he may know how much time he has taking over Oscar, and he's saving that for the absolute, all right, Ozpin time.
If things take a turn,
Yeah.
then you need that in reserve.
Speaking of, I think we should probably go ahead and move into some official, really quick, but predictions. Even though we've been predicting
AfterBuzz
things
TV prediction.
all episode, because it's hard not to. Okay, so next episode, again, this episode ended on a cliffhanger of like, hey, all these fights are breaking out, and Weiss looks to be down for the count. Still no sign of Blake.
I don't think she's dead just because of the way that her particular story has gone in this season. I don't think... When Pyrrha died, we'd done pretty much her story arc. We're not even close to that with Weiss, and they don't seem the type to just truncate that for drama. Like...
For a second when you thought I don't think she's dead, I don't know why, but I thought you were talking about Blake, and I went, why would she be dead? That's really extreme.
That ship capsized,
And it's now at the bottom of the ocean.
it's on Gilligan's Island somewhere.
A 3-volume tour. A 3-volume tour.
Yeah.
Never seen or heard from again.
I have to give another shout out to Princess Ponies on Twitter.
Nailing it.
I actually had this lying around from after a RWBY Chibi episode. My work here is done. But you
That's
didn't
right, they
do
did
anything.
that. That's right, they did that.
That
it is.
Tuxedo Mask parody gets me every time.
Thanks, Velvet.
Yeah, you are fantastic. Thank you so much. I feel like that just about does it. Any other final
Do you have
thoughts?
predictions?
I mean, I can't really. I have a lot of strong opinions about next week's episode, and unfortunately, I'm not going to be here to express it, but I have a lot of meme ideas. And some of you other wrestling fans in chat, I'm going to need your help. So please.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Wonderful ideas. Yes.
So basically,
Keep an eye out for Mark's Twitter, I guess?
So
Anyway.
basically, yeah, keep an eye out on Mark's social media. I feel like that just about wraps it up for this evening. Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
What? Are you okay?
Yeah, the
Chat.
wrestling folks are starting to come out.
Hi, all my buddies. I'm Katie Cullen. You can follow me all over the social medias as well as on Twitch and YouTube at Kiaxet. That is Kiaxet. If you want to see Megan's and my reactions to these episodes, they live on that channel.
You can find me on Twitter at Donica. If you like video games and some other stuff that I tried to announce it didn't because Twitch failed me, go to Inventory Full on Twitch. Inventory Full PT. We have streamed things with the Rooster Team before. It's the Ruby Grim Eclipse game. We have those in our highlights, but we do game talk shows as well as some other stuff that we're going to be announcing very soon. We appreciate all of the people that have gone over to do it. And we are going to reward the people who have come over for that Ruby-themed content in a new way, so stay tuned for that announcement. And then follow Stacey at Stacey Shuttles and Patrick at P to the D's.
Yep. One more quick Twitter shout out at SLoco Solado. Crow turns into a bird. Atlas Pilot. I'm here to help. It's Crow and crashes. That would be delightful. I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure, if you haven't already done so, go to iTunes, rate, subscribe, leave a comment. We love hearing from you. And next week, we'll shout out to anybody who does leave a comment. You guys are the best. It is the best way to let our producers know that you guys like the show that we're putting on. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you all next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Dust you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.